Speaking of Hail, how did it actually happen that you guys got together for this?
You know, we were talking today about that because he and I actually did a recording together. It was a Dimebag tribute song that we did, gosh, probably 3 years ago. And I forgot we even did it.
Leave It Alone.
Leave It Alone. Yep, and the money, all the money now that it's released on iTunes goes to charity. And again, another one we just played on for a buddy of ours kind of thing. And then about a year ago, well, almost a year and a half ago now, we put together a company called Rockhouse Method. They make like instructional DVDs and things. They threw a party at a big music trade show in California called the Winter NAMM. And so Jason Bittner, I'd called Jason up. I said, hey, you know, why don't we get some guys together and do a jam and just play some, you know, a couple of our own tunes, whatever, some covers. And he's like, oh, dude, we got to get Ripper. I said, awesome. I said, give him a call. I said, I haven't talked to him in a while. And so it was Jason from Shadows Fall, Mark Rizzo from Soulfly, and Rob Arnold from Chimera. So it was kind of a little all-star thing. And we just jammed in. He couldn't even make rehearsal because he was flying in the day of the show. So he walks in like a rock star, you know. and we'd rehearsed. We knew what we were doing. He walked in, and I tell you, I mean, he sang Peace Sells. I never heard the song sound so good. It was awesome. I mean, and Symphony of Destruction and things, and it was just like, holy smokes, man. I mean, it was great. And the next day, we were on the trade show floor, and we're just going, man, we should put one of those together. And then, you know, we stayed in touch, of course, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we got a call from a manager friend of ours who just said, hey, why don't we put something together and go to South America? And the idea of this is, with Hail, is that it's some of our own songs from our own catalog of our own bands, but it's also stuff, let's design the set list so that stuff that we were fans of, which is why we go back and play, you know, Old Maiden and Sabbath and Saxon, you know, and stuff like that.
Well, there's like tons of songs. How could you like pick them then?
Well, I think the idea was, you know, I think kind of, I asked, you know, Ripper, which ones do you want to do? I think the ones for me were pretty easy. I had already played some of Andreas' songs in Soulfly when I did some shows with Max, so I kind of knew, okay, these are great. You know, these work really well. So I said, no, Andreas was cool about that, and then we kind of worked through it, and we really, the point of it was we didn't want to just kind of play bar standards, and because everybody does that. We said, let's pick the songs that really inspired us to play. I mean, when I break into the beginning riff of Wrathchild, I mean, I'm like 15 years old again. I'm just like, I can't believe I get to play this song, you know, because I freaking practiced in my basement for years, you know. And so it was stuff that really inspired us to put bands together and songs that got us to get into bands. And it's just been wonderful. And one of the things we do with it, too, is to play, you know, not London, Los Angeles, New York, all the big cities. It's like, let's take this way out to places that don't get every tour that just comes through all the time. And the metal fans, we know metal fans because we are metal fans, you know, and so we kind of, it's like a good metal congregation, you know. It's really a cool thing.
You know, like for instance, you mentioned that Pantera. You have a couple of Pantera songs on the list. I guess 2 or 3.
We have a couple Pantera songs, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you explain what impact Pantera had on metal? Can you describe that in anyhow? Was it the specialty of Dimebag, or?
Well, I think it put a groove into the mainstream. I think it had that, you know, because you had, you know, the thrash and the fast and the speed, which had groove as well. But then all of a sudden, Dime came with this, you know, you know, really, which was heavy as hell, but it brought it to that with amazing talent. You know, everybody in the band was so good at what they did. So I just think it. I think it brought the harder, really, it probably boosted hardcore up.
Big time.
I think, just it just opened the floodgates, you know.
In fact, Phil kind of became the spokesman for that whole society. You know, I remember having them on tour with us during the Countdown to Extinction tour here in Europe. And and Phil had shaved his head. He went from being a long hair to a skinhead. And all of a sudden, he was on the cover of every magazine, every country he went to, Metal Hammer, Rock Hard, wherever he was on, and it was like, holy smokes, it's like, this guy's become the poster boy, and you're right. And what followed from that was what we're seeing now, which is like the metalcore movement, you know, and he was really the leader of that. And I remember seeing Pantera at a little bar, like a club down in Dallas, before Cowboys from Hell. they had a record called Power Metal that probably most people have never even heard. And you could hear the Van Halen and the Metallica info. I mean, really, because Dime was still like really playing a lot of solos and tapping and all this stuff, and because he was a bona fide guitar star in Texas. I mean, he was like the young rising star ever since he was a teenager, and I'd heard of him, and then I went and saw him, and I was like, wow, these guys are great, you know. And they played some cover tunes. I got up jam P-cells with them and stuff, but they were just a good hang. And then out of nowhere, man, they put out Cowboys from Hell, and it was like, wow. I mean, they just influenced a whole nother generation of and it wasn't, it was definitely Dime, but it was also Phil as well. I mean, that was that magic, that chemistry, you know. It just worked.
Another thing for you, let's put aside you're in this Hail band now.
Okay.
You just see
I'm fired now.
Yeah.
Right, all right.
You see an all-star metal band performing your songs. I mean, how does that feel? Or do you not think about that?
I think it's cool, man. I mean, there was a few bands over the years. I remember like Wrathchild or somebody covered P-cells, you know, and they had a record deal. This is years ago, you know what I mean? So I remember there's certain bands along the way that, you know, have covered, you know, our songs from the past. And you're always kind of like, wow, that's cool. That's like a legitimate nod, like you made an impact on us, and now that we have a band, we're going to kind of throw one back to you, is kind of how that feels. So with us, I think we're all, you know, about the same age. We all grew up in the same era, the same genre.
Except I was watching him play when I was younger. That was a difference. I had his albums. You know, so
but, you know, for both me and Tim, we grew up in the Midwest, you know, kind of the middle part of the country. And, you know, for both of us, we caught a lucky break. You know, when I was 18, 5 days after I graduated high school, I moved to Hollywood. And I told my parents I was going to go to music school, and I was really hoping I wasn't going to have to go to music school because I already knew how to play. And I wanted to be in bands because that's all I'd ever done since I was 12 years old. I've been doing this since I was like 12, so it seems like I'm going to just keep doing it forever. You know, and then me and Mustaine met, and our thing took off. I mean, that was just fate. And it's kind of like him, you know, he caught a lucky break. One day that phone rang or however that happened, and bang, he's the guy, you know. And so, you know, just we kind of have a lot of similarities in our lives of how that works, you know, and through it all is just being passionate about playing music. You know, I get up every morning and I think, God, what can I do today? What email, what phone call? Is there a gig? I mean, we're wrapping up this tour, and I'm hammering on our manager going, dude, what's happening in Scandinavia? And, you know, we're talking about the set list coming up for his thing. You know, here it's only a month away, and, you know, it's like, it's sort of like we never put it down. It's always in us and through us, you know, and I'm sure the fans and the musicians that are watching this can relate. So
I got one more. If for some reason every metal music is going to be destroyed and you can only save 3 songs for future generations.
3 songs?
Yeah. You can only save 3 songs for future generations.
Pick some.
Wow.
I just picked long songs, like Rhyme Nation Manor and MEGADETH. Just sort of like long, 3 songs.
Like really quick, you have to decide.
You know, I would say probably something like, you know, Paranoid, like some Sabbath tune. You know what I mean? That was kind of that sort of sums up their thing. I mean, probably for me, I would grab a Priest song, you know, and maybe it would be something like, I don't know, Grinder. You know, something like that, and maybe a Metallica song. You know, probably like, gosh, I don't even know. There's quite a few of those. I don't know. I mean, shit, maybe Whiplash. You know, those would be my 3.
I still can't even think of. You know, I would probably pick something from Priest as well, but I'd probably go with. Something like Dissident Aggressor.
Nice.
A little different,
call.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick Iron Maiden. I'll pick Wrathchild. Get that. And then I'll pick the party song. I'll pick Cold Gin from Kiss. So I have a little bit of everything.
MULATSCHAG!